Hello Rayclass, welcome to the build guide for my league starter for Abyss League, which is the Corpse Eater Scion. We'll cut up some gameplay footage on the side for a couple maps while we talk about the build, and we'll keep it short and sweet. So, I decided that I wanted to use one of the new skills, that being Volatile Dead, as a league starter, because the numbers on it seem solid enough and the mechanics on it seem solid enough, and I felt that it would be a good league starter that wouldn't require a whole lot of gear to get going. And it has done that just well. So we will first take a look at the passive tree and discuss some overall decisions we made for the build. Right off the bat, I knew that I wanted to go crit, and I had the idea that I wanted to go crit not only for the spell portion, the secondary ball portion of the build, but also crit for the initial corpse explosions. Now, the corpse explosions are not affected by any modifiers to spell damage, including spell crit stuff, which meant that we basically needed a way to get as much global crit as we possibly could to be able to get those crit numbers up to a decent level. And we also needed some help with base crit, because the base crit on Volatile Dead is only 5%. So for that, I decided to go with the Scion and the Assassin, because the Assassin node on the Scion is really good, 1.5 base crit and free power charge generation while you're mapping. And we decided to go for the Raider on the second point. We initially were thinking maybe Inquisitor for more global crit, but after a few changes were discovered as I was planning out the build and actually playing the build, I decided Raider would be superior. Get that permanent onslaught to free up a flask slot so we could fit in another defense utility flask, and the permanent frenzy charges are really nice, as well as the move speed. So, next I decided that I wanted to go Mind Over Matter, because I'd never done one before, a Mind Over Matter build, and I thought it would be a good way to do a league starter and get lots of EHP with little investment, and that turned out to be pretty true. So we started by going up through mana. We grabbed the life whenever you need life, started going up through here, and basically rushed these fire damage nodes as quick as possible. I was messing around with a few different skills while leveling, and honestly probably switched to Volatile Dead too early. It was a pretty painful leveling process with no twink gear or anything. It took me like 10 hours to get through the 10 acts and the Merciless, Cruel, and Normal labs. So it was not a very fast leveling process, and it was pretty painful, honestly. A lot of the time I would suggest sticking with Firestorm or something while you're leveling. The problem is that Scion doesn't actually get Firestorm really, so you'll have to bum it off of somebody. But I think that would be a better option, or maybe even Blade Vortex or something. But anyways, you grab Mind Over Matter whenever you feel like you have the mana to sustain it. We get this fire damage and all the area damage, because again, spell damage doesn't affect the initial part of Detonate Dead, or in this case Volatile Dead. Any of those corpse explosions not affected by spell damage, so you want as much fire damage and area damage and elemental damage as possible. So you can see it's kind of a basic skill tree here. We grab all the staff crit stuff for global crit and as much life, and like I said, elemental damage, area damage as possible. We get these two little mana things because they're just really excellent mana nodes, and also Volatile Dead has a really huge mana cost, so it's nice to chop that down a bit. While you're leveling and you're over here before you are doing the Uber Lab, you can just throw your extra points into whatever. Like I had these 2 points and some of this life and these area damage things. Just use your points on something to make you stronger temporarily until you finish Uber Labs so you can get your Path of the Shadow. As you do the labs, the first thing you want to do is on Normal Lab, you're just going to grab these 2 passive points. Cruel Lab, you're going to grab the Assassin. Merciless Lab, you're going to grab the Raider. And finally, you are going to grab Path of the Shadow for Uber Lab. Help Alira for your bandit choice. This character was also really nice to gear as a starting character, because we get a lot of all resists. We get all resists here, we get all resists here, and from Alira I think we have 40 total all resists just passively, which made gearing really cheap and easy. Once you get your Assassin restart, you're going to go through elemental damage, life, pick up the cast speed is very nice, and go through the crit stuff as well. Again, this is global crit, not spell crit. And we go over here for life and an extra frenzy charge. I'm currently level 92. You can see I've got these jewel slots. Pick up the jewel slots as you have money to buy actual decent jewels to fill them. And 93 would just be finishing this last life node, but I think I'm pretty much done with this character. Grab the power charge here as well, is important to note, because you need as much global crit as possible. So that's what the passive tree looks like. You can see, I will flip on my Warlords Mark. We are running a Blasphemy Warlords Mark. I had that turned off for the last map I recorded because it was a hexproof map, so I just decided to add the extra mana. You can see we're sitting around 6k life and 2k mana, so we have enough unreserved mana to get full effectiveness out of Mind Over Matter. And we have really good mana regen, and of course we leech life and mana with Warlords Mark. We'll now take a look at the gear. You'll notice I'm using a staff. Again, the reason for this is because we wanted as much global crit as possible, so we got those staff nodes, but in particular, the Eclipse staff base gives a 100% global crit strike chance. The build was fairly cheap to get up and running, actually. 6-link weapons, non-unique weapons anyways, are generally pretty cheap because nobody wants to spend the money to craft them. But we don't need very much out of our crafts, so we just, for 1 Exalt, managed to snag this 6-link Eclipse staff. And then we just use a Deafening Essence of Misery on it for a big cast speed roll. I've actually used 3 on it, but not hit anything else good any of the 3 times, so it's just the same as if I had only used 1, and that's like 6 chaos per Deafening Essence of Misery. Buy Shrieking Essences for 2 chaos each. So yeah, basically you just want this staff with an Essence of Misery for as much cast speed as possible. Going to our links are Volatile Dead, Increased Area of Effect, / Conk Effect, we'll switch that for bosses. Fire Penetration, Spell Cascade, Elemental Focus. Now that would be your 5-link, except you would use Spell Echo instead of Increased AoE / Conk Effect. Got a sale here, but I'll just keep talking while I do it. You'll notice we've got increased crit damage here. For your 6-link, you'd want that to be Spell Echo until you get a Helmet enchantment. The Helmet enchantment for Volatile Dead, the good one anyways, in Merciless is 2 extra corpses destroyed by Volatile Dead, and in Uber Lab enchant version it's 3 extra corpses destroyed by Volatile Dead. I discovered that people are charging a lot for the Uber Lab version with 3 additional corpses, and after thinking about it a little bit, I decided to settle for the 2 additional corpses Merciless enchant. And the reason for that is that your Desecrate with Spell Cascade creates 15 corpses, and that is also the amount of corpses that your Volatile Dead will consume with only the Merciless enchant. So you don't actually gain that much out of going for the Uber Lab enchant. It'll only help you raise a few extra corpses, 3 extra corpses overall in really dense packs and stuff, but for like your bossing and stuff, all that matters is that you consume all of your Desecrate corpses in one shot, and you do that just fine with the 2 additional corpses. So I would say save your money and go for just 2 additional corpses. Chest is Carcass Jack. I think I paid 2 exalts for the 5-link Carcass Jack. Obviously you want as good resist and life roll as possible on that, and Carcass Jack gives lots of area damage, which again is one of the damage types that will affect our Volatile Dead. Your links in the Carcass Jack are going to be Spell Totem, LMP, GMP, Unearth, and Faster Casting. You'll see it in the videos on some of the bosses and stuff. You run into issues just using Desecrate, because obviously Desecrate has a cooldown that you burn through pretty quick. So you just want to drop an Unearth Totem off to the side, and it will fire out 7 corpses at a time, and you just raise those as fast as you can with Volatile Dead. And it gives you pretty decent damage. Your last one here is just a movement skill. I body swap most of the time. I throw in Flame Dash for instances where it's better, like against the Necropolis boss, for reliably getting out of his little bone prison thing. Other links, we've got our Lightning Golem here. I think Lightning Golem is the best chance. You could use whatever golem you want though, but for smoothness I like the cast speed. And then we've just got Orb of Storms, increased crit power charge on crit, 4 power charge sustain on bosses. Got our Blasphemy Warlords Mark, we've got a Blood Rage that we use for frenzy charges during general mapping, and of course our Raider Ascendancy keeps it up on bosses. And we've got a Clarity, which is level to max. Belt is just life and resists as much as you can get. Boots and Gloves also just life and resists. Hat, life and resists. Get mana on these as well wherever you can. You'll notice I've got a good mana rolls on a couple of these for our Mind Over Matter action. And basically I tried to fill as much resist as possible on all of these slots and my tree so that I could focus on damage on the jewelry and life and mana as well. So we've got a couple diamond rings with life and mana regen, some resists, and then our amulet is really just all damage. We've got crit strike chance, fire damage, of course life and mana. So pretty basic stuff. Total gear cost into this character at this point, with all jewels and everything, is probably something like, I want to say 5 exalts maybe. Obviously the value of stuff fluctuates as you go. I know not everybody would consider 5 exalts budget easy league starter. It's a matter of perspective, just how long you've been playing the game. But once you're pretty experienced, that's a pretty easy amount to get together as you go, and it has definitely accomplished its goal of being a fast, easy league starter for generating currency. I've got 12 exalts here and 100 plus chaos even after gearing out this character, so I've got plenty to make my next character, which is going to be a boss killer. This character's got pretty good clear speed. You're kind of limited by the speed that your balls travel at. It's really good in super dense maps where your balls can chain between packs reliably. On sparse maps, it's kind of annoying because then you pretty much have to cast Desecrate for every pack, which of course slows you down quite a bit. It's got okay single target for as long as your Desecrates last. Once you're relying purely on the totem and you're low on Desecrate charges, it gets a little iffy because the totem dies and stuff. So it's not great. You'll see some of the boss fights. You got to do quite a bit of running around and waiting for Desecrate to come back up, but it's not a huge deal. Flasks, we've got a Catalyzed Eternal of Staunching, we've got a Quicksilver of Adrenaline, of course we've got a Diamond Flask, which is where I put Heat. We want Warding somewhere, which is put on a Basalt Flask, and of course Iron Skin on the Granite Flask. These two together keep us pretty safe from physical damage. And we've got overcapped enough resists that we are safe in LE weakness maps. The character really doesn't have a super high ceiling, I would say. You'll see I'm doing T15 maps and the boss is fine, but I don't think I would ever try to take this character to Guardians or Shaper. I don't have, well, I do have video of it on the stream somewhere, I'd have to go dig, but I did kill the Elder's Guardians in the Elder with little trouble. I only died once on the Elder, and it was just because I had never done the fight before, so I didn't know how to dodge one of the mechanics. Didn't die on any of the Guardians. So overall, I'd just say it's a well-rounded character. It doesn't super excel at any one thing. It's not tier 1 clear speed and definitely not tier 1 bossing, but it's stable, it's pretty tanky, and it'll get you through with little gear investment. If you wanted to invest more, I would say the best thing you could probably do is just keep hitting your Eclipse Staff with Essences of Misery until you hit something actually useful alongside the cast speed. That would be either plus level of fire gems or skill gems, a large percentage fire roll, either prefix or suffix, or global crit multi. Any of those would be good. This one's really just got the cast speed, is about all it's on it. I Katarina crafted spell damage, but that only affects the secondary part. So basically that's it. You just run along spamming Desecrate, casting Volatile Dead, casting more Volatile Deads when the previous ones blow up enemies, and you'll just chain through the maps pretty nicely. Hope you enjoyed the build, and hope you will subscribe and come back to see whatever I do next with all this currency I've gotten on this character. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.